Hare Krishna. My heartfelt gratitude to all of you for coming today for the Sunday Feast lecture. Prabhu, you moved from Chicago. I'm sorry, I forgot your name. Sachindra. Thank you, Sachindra. Vrinda Sevika Mataji, Ramananda Kasaka Prabhu, Radharanjan Prabhu from Sacramento. Ankur, thank you for joining. Hare Krishna. So today we have the Sunday Feast lecture. We hope to do something little different, and that is to cover the first 9 chapters of Bhagavad Gita to give an overview of the flow or the philosophy of Bhagavad Gita. If the assembled Vaishnavas allow me to do that, then we can accomplish. All right, thank you. Before we start off, we'll start off with our usual Mangalacharan prayers, and then we'll do 2-minute or 3-minute kirtan, and then we can get started. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Svayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Svapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guroh Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tvam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakanvitamscha. He Krishna Karuna Sindho Deenabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya evacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivas Adi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Matsamo nasti papatma, naparadhi cha kaschana, parihare pilajjame, kimbruve purushottama, bhumau skalitapadanam, Bhumirevavalambanam Tvai jata paradhanam Tvameva sharanam prabho. Govinda vallabhe radhe Prarthaye tvamaham sada. Tvadiyam iti janatu Govindo mam tvaya saha. Radha radhita radhesha Radhika prana vallabha. Radha ramana bande tvam Radhika Prema Nirjita. Hare Krishna. So we'll do just 2 minutes kirtan, and then we can get started with the class. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Deve गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषा शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैता गदाधर श्रीवासदि गौर भक्तवृंदा। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama
Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Gurudeva, Jaya Gurudeva, Gurudeva, Jaya Gurudeva.
Hari Bol. Hari Nam Sankirtan ki. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna Timur. Nice to meet you. So we can take the PowerPoint presentation and then we can get started. So just to set a scene in about 30 seconds, we know the story of how the Mahabharata or the Kurukshetra war came out to be. We had the long history of the Kuru dynasty, where the Pandavas and the Kauravas, they came together to fight this battle over the control of the earth. And they tried in many different ways to avoid the battle, but the battle was determined or was about to set place. And Bhagavad Gita begins as just about the battle of Kurukshetra is to start. Arjuna is ready to fight, and the Pandavas and Kauravas have their armies assembled. The Kauravas had 11 Akshohinis or 11 divisions of army, and the Pandavas had 7. And please understand, one Akshohini is about 218,000 soldiers, one Akshohini. And then equal number or a corresponding ratio of chariots, of equal number of chariots, horses, and elephants. There are certain ratios. 1:1:3:5. That is the ratio. One chariot, one chariot, one elephant, 3 horses, and 5 soldiers. That was the ratio in which it was divided. And they multiplied by X number of times was Akshohini. It is mentioned in Mahabharata that this entire army, which consisted of almost 3.9 million soldiers alone, along with the thousands of elephants and chariots, they were ready to be assembled. And they were assembled to fight this war. It was not that a person was sitting in air-conditioned room, controlling the drone on the screen and just landing the missiles where they needed to. It was a fight to life or death. If you win, you live, you enjoy the kingdom. And if you die, well, you go to heavenly planet. And then Bhagavad Gita actually begins from there. So in the first chapter, if we can go to the first chapter slide, please. Sutra Malika Prabhu. Okay. Can everybody see, or we need to expand a little bit? We can cut down whatever we need to cut down. Sorry, I didn't realize it will be so small on the screen. Well, it's okay. We'll make do. So in the first part of the first chapter, Dhritarashtra asks Sanjaya in the very first verse. And the question he asks is, what did my sons and the sons of Pandu do on the battlefield of Kurukshetra? And we can see at the outright, he has discriminated. He was the king of the whole world at that point of time, yet he discriminated. What did the sons? My sons and the sons of Pandu. There was that discrimination. And we knew the mind of Dhritarashtra, that he was favoring his sons to win and the sons of Pandu to kind of, be defeated in the battlefield. In the next section, Duryodhana goes to his teacher who is on the battlefield, because Sanjaya had this divine vision given by Vyasadeva to see what was going on the battlefield and relay that to Dhritarashtra, because Dhritarashtra was? Thank you. And Duryodhana goes to the teacher and he Duryodhana has a serious problem. He's a first-class politician, but he was having fear in his heart. He has seen that time and again in the past, Pandavas could not be defeated. They tried defeating him. When the Pandavas completed their period of incognito in the kingdom of Virat, they sent the armies to defeat the Pandavas. But then you can see that on one hand, Yudhishthir, Bhishma, and brothers had gone to defend one side. The other army of the Kauravas attacked from the other side. And then who came in that particular scenario? Arjuna, and who was incognito as? Brihanala, the eunuch. And they defeated. So Duryodhana was again little worried because in the past he knew the might, the military power of the Pandavas. He knew that I wouldn't be able to defeat them unless Bhishma and Dronacharya fight to their full capacity. They are my best things. Even Karna, not so much. So he goes to Duryodhana and he says, look, who was the commander-in-chief of the Pandavas when Bhishma was the commander-in-chief of Kauravas? Drishtadyumna. Drishtadyumna was a student of who? Thereby he said, look, you are a disciple. Fantastic. The arrangement is great. Internally he was saying, what did you do? Why did you give them? Why did you actually go and teach him? And Drishtadyumna was not born a saint. He was born for a specific purpose, that to kill you in the first place. But in any case, Duryodhana talks to his teacher and then, settles diplomatically. And the next section of the first chapter describes about how the conch shells are blown. Bhishma, when he sees Duryodhana getting a little afraid, he blows the conch shells and everybody blows their conch shells. It is said in the Bhagavad Gita that when the Kauravas blow their conch shells, the Pandavas were okay, big deal. But when the Pandavas started blowing their conch shells, the Kauravas' heart became a little shaken. Palpitations were starting to come. Then in the next section, Arjuna asks Krishna. And it is said that Krishna was situated on a beautiful chariot that was drawn by white horses. And Arjuna asks Krishna, "Oh Krishna, please take me in midst of the armies. I really want to see who had come." And as I said earlier, 3.9 million soldiers, along with elephants and chariots and so many things assembled at one place. You can see the square miles. And in those days, people were not like this. Pretty hefty, muscular built. If Bhima could alone stop an attack of 10,000 elephants, you can see their structures. They wouldn't be like 5'2", very skinny. In fact, the elephant will use you as a toothpick. So since that was the size, there was a lot of distance between both the armies. It's almost like maybe about half a mile or half a kilometer distance was there before they could actually come and start fighting. And then Arjuna asks Krishna, "Please drive me in between these armies." And then Krishna drives, and Arjuna sees who are there to fight against him. And they were his own. And Bhagavad Gita gives a list of relatives: fathers-in-laws, brothers-in-laws, nephews, teachers, grandfathers. They were ready to fight. Seeing these own relatives willing to kill each other for such a purpose, Arjuna, who was a Vaishnava, he said, Krishna, and the next section, the entire, from that point on to the next chapter, Arjuna says to Krishna, he gives so many reasons. Please understand, he does become emotional, don't get me wrong. But in the emotion, the intelligence and learning of Arjuna is not clouded. He gives so many arguments from the scriptures stating why he should not fight. And he says, first of all, some of the reasons he says, Duryodhana is ruling well, and if I kill, so many soldiers will be killed. If the soldiers are killed, then who will protect their families and the children? And they will be subject, and the women will be subject to degradation. There's so many reasons, beautiful, beautiful reasons he gives. And then at the end of the first chapter, Arjuna says to Krishna, Krishna, I will not fight this battle. And he takes the bow of Arjuna, which is called Gandiva, and he throws it aside. There is a deep meaning to it, but we will not get too much into it, just for the sake of time. But that at the end of the first chapter, Arjuna is fully determined that I will not fight. We'll go to the second chapter. In the second chapter, in the very first part, Arjuna is still undecided whether to fight or not to fight. And he gives so many arguments to say the same thing, that I will not fight Krishna. And one of the arguments he says is, indirectly, the acharyas say, will you go and kill your own teacher and grandfather? You will not do it, but you are asking me to do it. So that is one argument they give. And till the 10th verse, which is a pivotal point in Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna, he says, Karpanya tosho pahata svabhava prichhami tvam dharma sammuda cheta. And then the verse ends with Shishyasteham shadimam tvam prapunnam. Arjuna says to Krishna, Krishna, because of my weak nature, because of my being in such a state, I am unable to decide whether to fight or not fight this battle. So please accept me as your disciple and instruct me. Until that point, the conversations between Krishna and Arjuna were as friends. And they were friends. They were not only cousins, but they were friends, good friends. And then at that point of time, Krishna takes the role of teacher. It's a pivotal point where the friendship talk becomes the talk between the teacher and the taught, the teacher and the student. And Chaitanya Charitamrita mentions that Krishna, though he was speaking the knowledge of Bhagavad Gita to Arjuna, he made the whole world, you and me, as his targets to receive this beautiful message of Bhagavad Gita. And we can see how, when we go through this beautiful philosophy, how more invaluable is this particular knowledge that Krishna so kindly gave to Arjuna. And thus we are also the recipients. From 11th verse to the 30th verse, Krishna talks about one thing. What is body? What is soul? So, body is eternal and soul is destructible, correct? What's your name? Arman. Yeah, you know what does Arman mean? Okay, you should desire for Krishna, and that should be your desire. Wonderful. So that's right, Arman, right? You know, the soul is destructible and the body is eternal. Oh, it's the other way around. Okay, thank you for correcting me. So Krishna goes at length. He says that there is the soul and there is the body. And the body is never ever subject to eternality. And the soul is never subject to destruction. It is eternal. And he goes through so many verses, so many examples. 2 examples he gives is that one example he says is Dehinosmin yata dehe komaram yovanam chara tata dehantara praptir dhirastatra namuhyati. He says, as the body transmigrates from, similarly, it transmigrates from one body to another. Good job. All right. Aditi and Arman, you can come and sit here if you want. Sit here. Little far, because I'm not wearing mask. And then, in the middle of that argument, Krishna also says, assume that you don't believe in soul. You know, there are some people, right, we come across so many people who say, soul is all, This is all Haribol. I don't believe in it. Because it's... who has seen soul? I mean, in fact, that is so pervasive. This theory that you live only once, enjoy the life to maximum. Am I the only one heard it or did so? We will live for a long time, eternally. And so please never ever think that this is the only time you live. You live for eternality. But assume that somebody comes up with this theory. You will live only once, enjoy life. Then Krishna says, assume that you don't believe in soul and body is just bunch of chemicals. Why are you lamenting the destruction of chemicals? Suppose, God forbid, a person meets a car accident, right? Okay. You need to get a Asan Giridhar. Suppose he meets a car accident. The car goes to the shop, right? And the person goes to hospital. Does the person chase after the car? Oh, my car is going. No, I don't care about my car. I need to actually kind of get my stuff done. So in the same way, if you assume that the soul is not there and the body is a lump of chemicals, why are you lamenting just the destruction of chemicals? And then from 30th to 30th, actually Krishna kind of says to Arjuna, you are saying that if you perform this activity and kill your relatives, you will go to hell. But actually, if you don't perform your activities, you'll be liable for sin. And for the next verses, from 31 through 37, Krishna says that performance of one's duty is mandatory. You cannot avoid it. You should perform. But then the question comes is, if I perform my duties, what is the way in which I perform the duties? And the next section, 38 through 53, Krishna actually talks about performing one's duty without attachment for results. This whole world is just, if I do something, what do I get out of it? Yes or yes? What is it in for me? If I don't do it, if there's nothing in for me, then I'll not do it. We'll come to that point though. That means to say, you might ask a question, so if I start a business, then should I give it away free without even selling? I should never expect the fruits, right? Or should I go to office and say, okay, I declare from today onwards, I'm not taking any pay. Don't give me any salary, because I should be detached from the fruits of my activities. We can get to that point a little later. But Krishna mentions that one should perform one's duties without being attached to the fruits. And the famous Karmanya Vadikaraste words comes up in that section. And in the very end, he says that for one who is fixed in one's consciousness, he's overcome the reactions of work and is free from all reactions and is happy. And in the last section of the second chapter, Arjuna asks Krishna this question. Oh Krishna, what are the qualities of a person who is sthita prajna or fixed in spiritual consciousness? And Krishna explains in the last chapter about the nature of a person who is fixed. And he says, mainly it has to do with the mind and the sense control. For a person who is controlled his mind and senses, just like tortoise is an example. Just like so many examples are mentioned. 3 examples are mentioned. First example is, just as a tortoise, when you try to attack it, its hand and legs go inwards. So a person who is in contact with the sense, assume this is a sense object. This is a transcendental object because it's used in the service of the Lord. But assume that it's a sense object. So it's like, this is a sense object, inward. That is the one example. The second example he gives is that as you see Pacific Ocean or any ocean, do any rivers go into it, or is it every single river, every second, tons and tons of water are being dumped into Pacific Ocean? The Pacific Ocean is not coming and covering the land, saying, oh my God, all the rivers are flowing into me. I need to come and... No, it's just being very steady and still in spite of all the rivers flowing into it. In the same way, Krishna is saying that even though a person is there in this world, many desires come. If you can be calm in spite of that, then you will attain peace. And the second chapter ends with the famous verse, Esha Brahmi Sthiti Partha Nainam Prapya Vimhuyati Stitva Syamanta Kalepi Brahma Nirvana Mrachati. He says that who even at the time of death is able to be in this consciousness attains the kingdom of God. And Srila Prabhupada's purport is beautiful. He says that we all can be eligible to be fixed in that situation and go back home, back to Godhead. Any questions, comments? Yes, Ankur Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. I have two questions. One question is, when we say doing activities without attachment to the results, is it something that is about our consciousness, or is it something that the sankalpa in traditional yajnas that we do? So how do I know that I'm doing this activity without attachment to the result? So is it just in the mind I make it that way, or is there some formal procedure? Hare Krishna.
So Krishna later says in the 5th chapter, he says that one who does not feel happy when he obtains something pleasant and feels extremely distressed when he attains something unpleasant, that particular person is fixed in steady consciousness. So coming back to the thing, to the earlier thing, you start a business, you should have a plan. You should have a plan of making certain profit, otherwise business wouldn't survive. But the idea here is that the end goal is what is my only criteria. And I'm willing to break any laws to achieve that. That is a problem. Because Krishna is saying results is something that I give. Effort is something that is yours. But when you mix those two, thinking that I am the cause of my results, then there comes serious complications. There comes so much anxiety. So is that helpful? So the results on which you get or not get, that is something that you are not disturbed by. And neither your efforts are dependent on the results itself. Arjuna had the same mentality. He said, I am a Kshatriya. If I kill all these relatives of mine, I'll go to hell. He was thinking more in terms of results, not his duty. So Krishna is saying, do your duty. Results is, because think about it. Kids, if their focus is exclusively on results, I need to top, I need to get this marks, I need to do this. And if the kids think that they are the cause of their results, they can be paralyzed by that behavior. But rather, to put in the effort is mine, the result is not mine. That way, at least your mind is liberated to pursue your studies without that nagging thought in the back that if I don't get it, then I'm a failure. Is that helpful?
Yes, so you're saying that the quality of whether you are doing it with attachment to the result or not, that you can know by how you are affected by the results.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. There should be a plan though. I'm not saying you should not have a plan. Same thing. At office also, you cannot be underpaid. Just say, no, I'll take $1 per month, I'm fine, thank you very much. Fair enough, Ankuj? Is that good? Okay. 3rd chapter? Yeah? Okay. Technically speaking, 2nd chapter was done. Krishna explains that you are not the body, you're the soul. By controlling mind and senses, you go back home, back to Godhead. Isha Brahmi Sthiti Partha. But please understand, theoretical knowledge is not enough. I don't have a switch in me to say that, tick, okay, now I am soul. Tick, I'm now body. I don't have that switch on me to switch or go back. Or the self-realization is not instantaneous, saying that I can just by mere theoretical knowledge I'll understand. The reason being, because I have so many reactions from my past lives. And then how do I overcome those? And Krishna talks of Karma Yoga in the 3rd chapter, where he mentions, where Arjuna actually asks the question, good Lord, if I should control my desires, and you're asking me to control my mind and desires and become a sthita prajna and become a person of steady consciousness, isn't that something contradictory to this horrible job of fighting? On one hand, you are giving me this beautiful thing about, Brahma Nirvana and be peace and control your mind, control your senses, be a yogi. And then you are asking me to do this. It's like confused. What is it? And then Krishna says that in the beginning stages, it is impossible to not do work. How many of us get up excited Monday morning, kids included, going to school? Yes, this is what I am living for. I want to go to school or work or business. I have to go. Sometimes you feel like going, but sometimes, most of the times, it's like you have to drag yourself. The bigger question you should ask is, who is dragging us? Do I have any free choice in not doing work? And Krishna says, as long as you have this body, you do not have much of a choice as far as work goes. You will automatically work. You will work helplessly. Because without doing work, you can't even maintain your body. But Krishna says that if you really want to retire once for all from your work, shall I tell you the secret? Never ever to go back to work. Ever. Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, 3rd chapter, 17th verse, that for one who is self-realized, for one who takes pleasure only in self, for him or her, there is no duty to perform. So, we are sitting learning Bhagavad Gita. This is the way how to retire early and permanently. Krishna is saying this. But he says in the next section, he says, initially one has to do one's duty. And then he gives a little bit of history, how the world was created. Is there a concept called drought going on in California? Drought. Is there? Balram, what is the difference between drought and drought? What does drought mean then? Trot? No, drought. I see. Okay. All right. So drought. Let's go to drought. But why do droughts happen though? Is it natural? Is it normal? No. It's not. Completely abnormal. Krishna is saying in the Bhagavad Gita that in the beginning I created the demigods and I created the human beings. And the human beings are obliged to offer sacrifices to demigods. And the demigods will provide all the necessary means for the human beings to be happy, healthy, and prosperous. Droughts are completely unnecessary and abnormal because in the previous ages, the rains would come perfectly on time, and there would be an exact time which they would come and they would go. And they wouldn't come too little or they wouldn't come too much. New Jersey, thank you. Right? So it's the abnormality is, Krishna said that you are obliged to do this. You cannot simply say that I live in this world for free. If you go, imagine you go to an apartment, right? You get into the apartment and suddenly some unwise friend convinces you are living freely in that apartment. You don't have to pay trash. You don't have to pay for electricity. You don't have to pay for rent. You don't have to pay for nothing. Is that a wise argument? Same thing. Krishna is saying, we are here renters on this earth. So we need to pay our rents, which is to the demigods, and the demigods will keep us happy. And that's mentioned in the 3rd chapter. And from the next section, from 17 to 35, Krishna talks about even though you are very advanced, you still need to work to show others the path. For example, let me give an example. A billionaire who has so much of money, yet he might go to office to show his son the value of work, right? Is that a noble kind of way of looking at it? That father need not work because he already has or she has billions of dollars, the mother, but to show her daughter that what's the value of work, she may still go to work. Similarly, Krishna gives the exact same thing. that even though I don't have to get anything from this world, I still work. And that Krishna is saying in the 3rd chapter. And in the last section of the 3rd chapter, Arjuna asks Krishna, did we ever get this feeling that I don't want to do this, but somehow I did it? Or it's just me getting multiple times? Arjuna asks Krishna, what is that force? People say that, don't blame me. My mind made me do it. Or sometimes in court, they cop the insanity plea. I'm insane. I don't know. Insane means my mind was not under my control and I did what I did. Is that insanity? Krishna is saying, Arjuna asks, what is this insanity? Why is it people are doing what they are not supposed to do? And Krishna explains that it is the selfish passion which is born of mode of passion. What is mode of passion? We'll learn later. That is the enemy of the soul. That pulls, that is uncontrollable. One lesson that we can take away from Bhagavad Gita is, if you want more to be happy, then you will still want more to be happy, and there is no end to it. There is no point where saying that I get this thing, then I'll be happy, or this position, then I'll be happy. Krishna is saying the desire is such that it is going to pull you more and more and more. There is no end or satiation. And in the end of the 3rd chapter, Krishna asks Arjuna to slay the doubts through the weapon of knowledge. Is everybody comfortable? Or did I slay everybody with the weapon of my knowledge? All right. Giridhar, can I? Okay, how are we doing on time? I think we are okay. Yeah, go ahead.
You said, if you have to give some sort of stuff to the demigods. But somewhere in the Ishopanishad, it said, if we worship demigods, we go, to the lowest planets. But what if we, give it instead to Krishna itself, instead of giving it to the demigods?
Giridhar had a question. He said in the Ishopanishad, which is another book for those who are unfamiliar, it's an Upanishad, where it is mentioned those who worship the demigods go into the darkest region. Krishna, in this particular section, he talks of those who don't worship him. He talks of those who lead unregulated lives. For them, it is mandatory to worship the demigods. Is that okay? But if you are worshipping Krishna directly, then there is no need to. But not everybody has come to that stage, right? So then they still need to worship the demigods. Right? Okay. Yes, you and Arman.
So you were saying about how we basically have to pay rent to the demigods and all, but the demigods, this is not their home either. So who do they pay rent to?
Correct. So the demigods are like your apartment manager. They live within the apartment and they make sure that if you don't pay the rent, then they'll serve you eviction notice. Arman.
Prabhuji, I had a question.
Yes.
If we do material activities for Krishna, is that still called devotional service?
Yes. Because, and we'll come to that in the 12th chapter, actually Krishna says that. He says, the highest thing is to worship me. Always fix your mind on me. That's too much, Krishna. I can't do it. All right, follow the regulative principles and do of bhakti. That's too much. Okay, work for me. So in that sense also it is, working for Krishna is devotion.
Okay.
Though not the highest, but nevertheless that's devotion.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you. You had a question? Okay.
Prabhuji, where is the transition happening from Karma Kand to Karma Yoga? In the previous slide, it said from section 10 to 16 shloka, there is a transition from Karma Kand to Karma Yoga. So I understand Karma Kand is the portion where Krishna is advising us to offer to the demigods so that they please us. But where is the transition happening to Karma Yoga there?
I'll take it offline. I'll tell you. There are subtle nuances where Krishna says that, work for Lord Vishnu has to be performed. Otherwise, there will be reactions. So Karma Kanda portion talks of Vedic rituals for the demigods where you are doing the sacrifices for going to higher planetary systems. And Krishna is not so much in the picture. But there is a transition where Krishna says, work for me. So we'll go through it. In fact, it's overview, so we have to go a little faster. Is everybody okay? Okay. Yes, sir.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Prabhu, so there is this, there's nitya karmas that Brahmanas do, like, for example, Shraddha, that even the devotees, they do. So how does that count in, we do the nitya karmas, like all the three kala sandhyavandanam, things like that. So, what if a true devotee, like for example, Jiva Goswami, even though they were so high, they did nitya karmas. So for them, it was not required, right? But still they did. So can you kind of...
where did it's mentioned that Jiva Goswami did nitya karma?
No, there is this one reference where, I don't remember where it was. Not Jiva Goswami, it was Advaita Acharya who did a Shraddha, and then he called... don't remember.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah. So just wondering if you can throw some light on it, so for our understanding.
Everybody got the question? Okay. Okay, Sachin. So there are a set of obligatory duties. If you stay in this world, you invariably commit 5 kinds of sin. You don't have an exception for that. It is mentioned that at night, do you walk on the road or just stay home? You walk on the road sometimes. Do you see the ants on the road? If you are sweeping the floor and there are ants, are the ants perfectly safe? Or sometimes they depart. So the idea here is, for 5 types of sin, there are 5 types of sacrifices that a human being has to perform. Panchasunu yajna. And the 5 types of sacrifices are, worshipping the forefathers, offering Shraddha, worshipping the demigods, feeding the people, reading Vedas. 5. 5th one, I don't remember. Thank you. Feeding the other. So is it obligation for a devotee to do it? That's what his question was. For one who has taken complete shelter of Krishna, the answer is an emphatic no. And there are many sources that we can get into. Yamunacharya Alamandaru's quote is there in Bhagavad Gita, where he says to the 3 sandhyas, please forget me, devatas, please forgive me, I can't do it, because to the extent one is absorbed in Krishna, and to the extent one is seriously wanting to progress in Krishna consciousness, there is no need. But for those who are in the beginning stages of devotion and who by force or who by traditions are unable to give up, if it comes to the choice, then one has to perform devotional service. And if you can do both, it's great, but never compromise on one's devotion to Krishna, because that will ultimately liberate you from the cycle of birth and death. Is that okay? Thank you. All right. We don't need to complete all the 9 chapters if the devotees are really like, it's too much. What do you say? Should we do it or no? All right. We'll go more fast. If you want, I can go really fast. Next 5 minutes, we'll be done. um, the chapter 4 is technically called Jnana Yoga, where when one performs sacrifice, in the beginning of the chapter, Krishna talks that this knowledge is not something new. I'll tell an example. Is the soul, so kids, the soul is destructible and the body is eternal, correct? All right. The soul is eternal. Wouldn't the knowledge of the soul be eternal as well? What do you mean to some extent? So it keeps changing? No, the knowledge of the soul is eternal. It doesn't change. Because the soul doesn't change, the knowledge of the soul doesn't change, correct? Yes. So Krishna is saying that the same knowledge I spoke to Sun God many, many millions years ago. Because the knowledge, spiritual knowledge doesn't change, because the soul doesn't change. I'll give a simple example. Somebody in software industry? Okay. Some of the, do you know, at least heard of Pascal or Fortran? You heard, right? And that is the most hottest language now. Right? Because it's changed. That knowledge that we got, that knowledge people had 30 years ago, which was the hottest knowledge which would get you employment, means nothing now. If the knowledge changes over the period of time, then what Krishna spoke millions of years ago is useless now. But the soul has not changed. It is eternal. So the knowledge he spoke millions of years ago is as fresh and relevant today, because I am that unchangeable soul, not the body, that constant changing body, that the body changes. So this is the beauty of Bhagavad Gita, that even if we get a glimpse of it, then our life changes forever. And Krishna himself says this. Neha Bikrama Nashosti Pratyavayo Na Vidyate Svalpam Apyasya Dharmasya Prayate Mahato Bhayat. It's that little bit of knowledge. So that you all gentlemen and those who are online, Haribo, wherever, you're getting little knowledge of Bhagavad Gita, or a lot of knowledge. In fact, some are more knowledgeable than me. This knowledge is knowledge of soul, and that saves us from the greatest danger. Otherwise, the body is constantly changing, and the knowledge of body constantly changes, and there is an anxiety. Just like Fortran and Pascal was the in thing 30 years ago. And when they become out of demand, then you get anxiety. Oh my God, I need to, because things have changed. My body has changed, and the time has changed, and I have to change. That change is something which is not the nature of the soul, and that's why there is so much of fear, because my identification is with the body that's constantly changing, but the me is the spirit soul that's unchangeable. And to be established in that unchangeable position as Atma is the goal of Bhagavad Gita, at least in the beginning chapters. So far, so good? Am I making sense? Balram, am I making sense? Thank you. Okay. Arman, is it okay? Okay, good. If I'm not making sense, I know you kids will call out. You're not making sense. Thank you. All right. So Krishna says that I spoke this knowledge to Sun God many millions years ago. And Arjuna asks, really? But you were born just now. Sun God is there since millions. How? He says, I know all the birds, but you don't know all the birds. Me and you have taken many, many birds, but I know all of them and you don't. And then Krishna describes a little bit about the famous verse, Paritranaya Sadhunam. And then he says that those who know me in truth, they never have to take birth in this. And then action, Krishna further describes in the next section about the action through the lens of knowledge, Jnana. And for the last two sections, Krishna talks about this sacrifice that people do various types of sacrifices that results in knowledge. That is Jnana. So that ends in the 4th chapter. Questions, comments, concerns? We'll do one more chapter and then we'll have a bhajan. Aditi, you're good? Do you have any weapons on you? No. Just joking. Just joking. Joking, Aditi. All right. Yes, Ankurji.
So the knowledge that is being spoken of in Jnana Yoga, it is the Jnana about the soul and God, or just about soul?
Mainly about the soul. I am spiritual. I'm so completely spiritual. And that identification, people have so much of fear of giving up this body, yes or yes. It is you see world around, especially in the time of COVID, when you hear of all these, especially near and dear ones, those who untimely passed away from COVID, it seriously shakes you. Like, what is going on? Then people have this great question, who am I then? And then if you are told, death is nothing, you just are giving up the body. You have done it billions and billions of time in the past, and you will do it billions and billions of time in the future, the same thing. Because Krishna says that you don't remember the past birth, that necessarily means I don't remember my past death as well. So that is lost, and I think this is my only life. But please note that I've been in this material world since time immemorial. Billions and billions of births and deaths I've taken, and I'll continue to do so unless I take shelter of Krishna or seriously say to Krishna, or at least get the idea in the human form of life, like, who am I? Why should I kind of face this kind of constant changes that I don't want? Nobody likes to have change. Let's come back to the knowledge. I'll come. In school also they might say, soul and all that, again, this is all, I don't believe in it. Did you see it? Did I see it? Who knows what happens? But if soul is not there and only the body is the only truth, then the changes of body should not disturb me, because that's a natural part. But the fact they disturb me means that I am not that change that the body is undergoing. I should be something different. At least in the human form of life, we get that question, or we get that awareness to ask this question. Who put me here in the first place, and who am I? All right, Hans. Yes, Arman first, and then Giridhar.
Then why does Krishna put us here? Is this material world a school or a death or a prison?
Thank you, Arman. Is Krishna our well-wisher? No. Okay, is your dad your well-wisher? Okay. Does he send you to school? Do you want to go to school? Every day? Talk to me when you are in high school. My daughter is going to high school next year. Or the tuition or that math class you don't like. So easy, Prabhu. But he sends you to some situations even though you might not want it, because okay, I'll give you another example. No, this is a good example. How old are you, Arman? 9 years old. You have about 6-7 years, Prabhu, before that. You see your father, he assumed that he gets a brand new shiny BMW or Mercedes-Benz, whatever, Tesla. These days it's Tesla. You look at this car and you say, Papa, I want, you call him Papa, Daddy, what do you call him? What do you call him? Papa, Daddy? What do you call your dad? Dad? Okay, Dad, I want a Tesla like you. No, you're 9. You can't drive. No, I want a Tesla like you. You know what is he going to do? He's going to take you to the toy car and give you that, right? And you can drive around in your neighborhood, imitating like your dad. Yeah. Exactly that's happening here. Because we had a desire to become like Krishna, Krishna said, I will put you in this material world so you can get the feeling that you are the master and the controller and the enjoyer. Is that okay? Yeah. Unless you had that desire, Krishna would not put you. Unless you had the desire to drive like your father, he'll not buy you Tesla. He'll not one fine morning get up and yes, I need to buy him Tesla Arman. No. Arman wants it, so father buys it. Is that okay? No? You didn't like the example? Or, yeah, use the mic, Arman. You are told, put the mic close to you. Okay.
So so is this world a prison or is it a prison or a school? Because does Krishna come down and put us here to learn, or just to learn our lesson the hard way?
Learn.
So it's a school.
It's a school. But for those who don't want to learn, it's a prison. Giridhar had a question.
Why can't we remember stuff from our past life? Like, if we remember stuff from our past life, we can think about what we did in the past, and we can make better choices. But why doesn't Krishna let us remember our past life?
Good question. To the extent one is in devotional service, you remember your past life. To the extent you have this thing that I want to be on my own, Krishna, don't bother me, don't be in my life, Krishna will say, I'll make you forget it. That's one aspect. The second aspect is, did anybody had a traumatic moment in their life? Like you're about to, okay, yes, please. You want to share? Okay, no, it's okay. So, sorry? Okay, too dark, okay. Or I'll give you a little brighter example. You were about to hit the car right in front of you, and the car's automatic braking system, or somehow, you just saved. I had an experience like that with my daughter when we were in Ganga many years ago in Mayapur. We were about to drown. It was the traumatic event. If you remember the traumatic event, do you have a big smile in your face? No? So, if Krishna gave you just this life, if you remember the traumatic event, which never happened, which you safely emerged, and you still get that, if you remember past lives and all the painful experiences and the death that you have to undergo, you will be depressed to the point you will not even get out of the bed. Krishna, let me sleep. So Krishna is merciful like that. But again, to the extent you remember Krishna, the devotion that we do in this life, that is carried to the next life. So it depends. Is that okay?
I also have another question.
Yes.
It says if someone wants to become God, why should Krishna help his competition?
Sorry?
If someone wants to become God, why should Krishna help his competition?
Krishna help him.
Why should Krishna not help his competition?
Krishna not help him?
It's for the Mayavad, it says something like that. One book I was reading about
Wait, Balram, let me complete that.
No, I was trying to answer this question.
No, let me answer and then you can add.
Okay.
No, it was just one poem I was reading.
So the thing here is, Krishna actually, this is one of the questions. Balram, answer me. Can God create somebody greater than himself? There you go, okay. Give me a yes and give me a no. Abhay is laughing. So you said no. Tell me why. It's an interesting thing. And don't worry about completing. That's not the purpose of the class.
So basically, Krishna would not want to create someone that's greater than him, because that person might not be completely responsible with this new person.
So by your own statement, Balram, you said that that person is inferior to Krishna because he's not as responsible as Krishna. Okay, nice, good point. I'm just asking questions. Who said yes? Okay, Anamay said yes. Why did Anamay say yes?
So when Krishna does Leela in like Vrindavan and spiritual world, sometimes he comes into position like where he wants his like the devotees to be in a higher position than him, to where like they don't even think of him as God, and he doesn't even like reveal those like aspects of himself. And like one time when he had to lift the I think shoes of his father, he was basically not acting like as God. He was basically like at that point his father was greater than him. So
Thank you. And is there anybody greater than Father of Krishna that Krishna is really subordinate to?
well, in Vrindavan they used to pray to Lord Vishnu.
No, in this particular temple, do you see anybody who's
Who's greater than Lord Krishna?
yeah?
Radharani.
Very well. Who said that? Is it? Thank you. Thank you. Yes. Thank you. Who was it? Please reveal your name.
This is Keshav Krishna Das Prabhu.
Keshav Krishna Prabhu, thank you so much. Yes. So we have the Radhashtami coming up on next Monday. So we will sing a bhajan for Radharani now, given that we anyway have to take a break. Good? Okay. The whole purpose was not to complete. I mean, I'm not getting a commission if I complete all the 9 chapters today. There is no chapter commission. So we'll sing the bhajan now, and then we can do that. How many kids are there?
Whether you, Dandavats Srivas Pandit Prabhu, whether you completed or not, I really understood the 4 chapters in such an easy way, because when I go to Audible and I want to buy some books take 16 hours to read.
Wow.
So I just go and search for a summary books which are like 10 minutes or 15 minutes. And then I read, I buy that and I hear it. And then I think, okay, should I invest my 6 hours in hearing the other book or not? So like that, the summary that you gave helped me to understand like which chapters like I can go deeper into. So that was very helpful, Prabhu. Thank you so much. And also the answer you gave to Ankur Prabhu about how we know whether we are attached or not is so very practical. That depends on the result. And I also see in Gita Priya, like in the answer she gives, how you're not only practicing, but you have also imparted that tendency of not working for result in your daughter also. And I want to take that as an inspiration. Thank you so much, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Gandharvika Mataji. Thank you so much for those comments. Thank you. So we'll sing the bhajan. How many kids? 8? No, right now 6, 8. Perfect. Ashtakam means 8. So each of you do one translation. You can put that. We'll do the translation first and then we can, sorry. Is that translation? Okay, let's do the translation. Okay, Gita Priya, you can start, please. Somebody give the mic to her. And then you can give to Arman and then Aditi, and then it goes like that.
May that Srimati Radhika, whose bodily complexion excels the beauty of a golden lotus flower, tinged with kumkum, whose bodily fragrance reproaches the fame of a lotus sprinkled with saffron powder, and who fulfills all the desires of the Prince of Raja, always bestow upon me the service of her lotus feet.
Next, yeah.
May that Srimati Radharani, whose dazzling colorful silk sari defeats the splendor of coral, who is like garden of all varieties of blooming flowers, which attracts the maddened bumblebee, Sri Krishna, who comes to play amongst her flowers, who worships the sun god in order to meet Krishna eternally, always bestow upon me the service of her lotus feet.
May that Srimati Radharani, whose softness defeats the glory of delicate budding flowers, the coolness of whose body is adorable by moon, sandalwood paste, the lotus and camphor and whose touch dispels the heat of amorous desires of Sri Krishna, always bestow upon me the service of her lotus feet.
Lakshmi Devi is respected by all adorable damsels of the universe, but the opulence of her beauty and ever-fresh youthfulness is overshadowed by that of Srimati Radhika. Srimati Lakshmi Devi can also pass her by her natural loving or playful disposition.
Please go back one, Prabhu. May that
Srimati Radhika always bestow upon me the service of her lotus feet.
May that Srimati Radhika, who is an expert in all the divine arts of Rasa Lila, like dancing, singing, and joking, who is bestowed upon with supernatural love and enchanting beauty, wonderful dresses and ornaments, and all divine virtues, who is the best maiden of Raja, always bestow upon me the service of her lotus feet.
May that Srimati Radharani Radhika, who by her ever-fresh beauty and playfulness and ever-renowned wealth of affection causes all the young maidens of Raja to fall in love with Sri Krishna and to tremble in anxiety, and who is immersed in spiritual trance upon Sri Krishna's beauty, attire, and playful pastimes, always bestow upon me the service of her lotus feet.
May that Srimati Radhika, who in divine ecstasy manifests perspiration, hair standing erect, trembling, tears rolling in choked voice, who is adorned with sorrow and joy in contrary, and who wears beautiful jewel-studded ornaments which delight Sri Krishna's eyes, always bestow upon me the service of her lotus feet.
May that Srimati Radhika, who upon being separated from Sri Krishna for even half a moment is depressed by ever-growing feelings of her loneliness and restlessness, and who on meeting Krishna by strenuous efforts of one of their messengers is relieved of all of the mental anguish, always bestow upon me the service of her lotus feet.
Thank you. Srimati Radhika, whose sight is rarely attained by Parvati, Devi and other goddesses, who gives immense pleasure to her companions, who herself is elated on meeting with Sri Krishna, and who is Krishna's dearest lover, makes that person who prays to her by singing this Ashtakam a recipient of the nectar of his service very soon. Haribol. Cool. Anybody wants to try Mridanga? Okay. All right. It's a 2-beat. Kumkumakta kanchanabja garvahari gaurabha petananchitabja gandha kirti nindi shaurabha. Kumkumakta kanchanabja garvahari gaurabha petananchitabja gandha kirti nindi shaurabha. Kumkum kanchanabja garvahari gaurabha petananchitabja gandha kirti nindi shaurabha. Ballavesha sunu sarva vanchitartha sadhika Mayamatma pada padma dasya dastu radhika. कांति निंदि चित्रपट शाटिका कृष्ण मत भृंग केळि फुल्ल पुष्पवाटिका कृष्ण नित्य संगमार्थ पद्मबंधु बाधिका नय्यमात्म पाद पद्म दास्य दास्तु राधिका दास्य दास्तु राधिका नय्यमात्म पाद पद्म दास्य दास्तु राधिका श्रेष्ठ पल्लवाली कीर्ति निग्रह चंद्र चंदनोत्पलेन्दु सेव्य शीत विग्रह बल्लवेश कामतापबाधिका मय्यमात्म पाद पद्म दास्य दास्तु राधिका सायतोऽस्ति नाधिका मय्यमात्म पाद पद्म दास्य दास्तु राधिका दास्य दास्तु राधिका मय्यमात्म पाद पद्म दास्य दास्तु राधिका सद्गुणालिमण्डिता गोपयोषि आलितोऽपियाधिका मह्यमात्मपादपद्म दास्य दास्तु राधिका नव्यरूपकेळि कृष्ण भाव संपदा कृष्ण रागवन्द गोप योवतेषु कंपदा केळि लग्न सत्समाधिका मह्यमात्मपादपद्म दास्य दास्तु राधिका दास्य दास्तु राधिका मह्यमात्मपादपद्म दास्य दास्तु राधिका गद्गदादि संचिता हर्ष हर्ष वामकाधि भावभूषणाञ्चिता रत्न मण्डनालिधादिका मह्यमात्मपादपद्म दास्य दास्तु राधिका योगसन्ततोदिता एकदैन्यचापलाधि भाववृन्दमोदिता यत्नलब्ध कृष्ण संग निर्गताखिलाधिका मह्यमात्मपादपद्म dasya dastu radhika. Dasya dastu radhika Mayamatma pada padma Dasya dastu radhika. Noti Krishna Vallabham Darshane Pishaila Jadi Yoshidali Durlabham. Nandita dasya sidhu bhajanam tam karoti nanditale sanchayashu sajanam. Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Kanchanabja Garvahari Gaurabha Pitananchitabja Gandha Kirtinin दिशौरभा वल्लवेश सूनु सर्व वाञ्छितार्थ साधिका मय्यमात्मपाद पद्म दास्य दास्तु राधिका मय्यमात्मपाद पद्म दास्य दास्तु राधिका मय्यमात्मपाद पद्म दास्य दास्तु राधिका Ananda Mataji, Hare Krishna. Haribol. So what do we do next? Should we do the Bhagavad Gita? Should we have question and answers? Or should we take on some other different topic? We just completed 4 chapters of Bhagavad Gita. We're supposed to do 9. Avantika, what do you do? You do bhajan? One more. All right. Sorry. Avantika was saying something. Yes. It's ready? I thought it was 5:30, right? Oh, I should have asked first Hari Sankirtan Prabhu what we should do. All right. So we can actually, take out the asanas. 5 minutes? No. All right. Any final questions, comments? I think we'll end with that. Any couple of questions I can answer. Yes, Arman. So Chindra Prabhu, your son has quite many questions. I'm so happy.
Prabhuji, this is a reflection.
Yes.
So when you said on the 2nd chapter, when you talked about when you do devotional service without getting reward, there's this one story. There's this one part of my brain that lit up, and I just thought the word haitaki, which means unmotivated.
Thank you, Arman. That's good job. Okay. The next stage of our program is that we'll have Aarti, and then we'll offer the beautiful offerings to the Lord, and you're free to dance. I believe Srivas is going to lead the Gaur Aarti. Is he around? Oh, there we are. Okay. And then Shamrupa Prabhu will do the Nrsimha Aarti. So that's or sing the Nrsimha Aarti. Or his better half. That I've been told to do that. I'm so grateful to each and every one of you for joining today. Thank you so much for your valuable time. And then hope to see you again soon. Hare Krishna. And we'll go for
Hare Krishna. You have to ask someone. Hansa Prema is one assigning people. I don't know. Kiva Jayo Jayo Gora Krishna
Jai Om Vishnupada Paramahamsa Parivrajakacarya Ashtotara Shata Shri Srimad His Divine Grace Abhay Charnaravinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Om Vishnupada Paramahamsa Parivrajakacarya Ashtotara Shata Shri Srimad His Divine Grace Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Srila Prabhupada Ki Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासदि गौर भक्त वृंद की गंगामाई जमुनामाई की भक्ति देवी तुलसी देवी की सामवेद भक्त वृंद की भद्र पूर्णिमा एसबी डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन की निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे all glories to assembled devotees all glories to assembled devotees all glories to assembled devotees all glories to Sri Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga.
Shringaya Praladalaydayine Praladalaydayine Hiranyakashipurvakshaha Hiranyakashipurvakshaha Silatankanakalaye Silatankanakalaye Ito Nrishinga Bharato Nrishinga Ito Nrishinga Bharato Nrishinga Yato yato yami tato nrishinga Yato yato yami tato nrishinga Bahi nrishinga hridaye nrishinga Bahi nrishinga hridaye nrishinga Bahi nrishinga hridaye nrishinga Narasimhamadim sharanam prapade Narasimhamadim sharanam prapade Tava kara kamala varena kham अद्भुत शृङ्गां दलिता हिरण्यकशिपु तनुभृङ्गां केशवधृता नरहरिरूप जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे केशवधृता नरहरिरूप जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे जय जगदीश हरे जयो नरसिंहदेव जयो नरसिंहदेव नरसिंहदेव जयो नरसिंहदेव जयो नरहरि जयो नरहरि नरहरि जयो नरहरि जयो प्रहलाद महाराज जयो प्रहलाद महाराज प्रहलाद महाराज जयो प्रहलाद महाराज जय जय प्रभुपाद 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 जय जय प्रभुपाद जय जय गुरुदेव 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 जय जय गुरुदेव 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 जय जय गुरुदेव निताय गौर हरि बोल हरि बोल हरि बोल निताय गौर हरि बोल हरि बोल हरि बोल हरि बोल निताय गौर हरि बोल जय भक्ति विघ्न विनाशक श्री नरसिंहदेव भगवान की भक्तराज भक्त शिरोमणि श्री श्री प्रहलाद महाराज की निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे हरे हरे बोल
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Krishna Krishna. Hare Hare. Hare Rama. Hare Rama. Rama Rama. Hare Hare. Thank you. Thank you, Vijay Damodar Prabhu. So we welcome all of you to ISKCON of Silicon Valley. So thank you for taking out your precious time on the evening of Sunday to participate in the Sunday Feast program. So thanks to all of you. I would like to thank His Grace Srivas Pandit Prabhu for wonderful overview of first 4 chapters of Bhagavad Gita. And double thank yous for so patiently answering so many queries from the audience. Thank you, Prabhu. Hari Bol. Then I would like to thank Srivatsa for leading the Gaur Aarti Kirtan. And Ananya Radhika Mataji for so beautifully leading the Narsimha Aarti Kirtan. Thank you. At this point, I would like to welcome any newcomers or first-time visitors to ISV. So if there are any newcomers, Hare Krishna. So all of you who are coming for the first time, if you can raise your hand so that others can see. Thank you. Thank you. Actually, we might have some newcomers online also. So to welcome everybody, every one of them, let's chant one Maha Mantra very loudly, everybody together. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Thank you for visiting us. Thank you. So for today's Sunday Feast sponsors, I don't have any information on that now. But if you would like to sponsor Sunday Feast for today, feel free to contact me or His Grace Hari Sankirtan Prabhu. And for next Sunday Feast program, that's an important announcement. Next Sunday Feast program will be in the morning because the following day will be Radha Ashtami celebration. So we'll be celebrating Radha Ashtami on Monday, September 13th. And next Sunday Feast will be in the morning. Details will be emailed soon. Thank you. Hare Krishna. We can sing the Prasadam prayers if there are no more announcements. Hare Krishna.
Sharira Vidyaja Jorindiya Tahika Jive Fele Vishaya Sagore Dharmade Jivayati Lobomoy Sudurmati Takijita Katina Samsare Krishna Bharadayama Kori Bhare Jivaja Prasadandari Nobar Stayana Vitapao Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gunagao Premidako Shri Chaitanya Nitai Premidako Shri Chaitanya Nitai Mahaprasade Govinde Namo Brahmane Vaishnave Kapa Punyavatam Rajan Vishwasunmita Jayate Prasade Sarva Dukkana Jayate Prasana Chita Suyasu Buddhipaya Vatishtate Tvayopa Budga Shatkanda Vasulankaya Jachita Utishta Pujino Dasas Tavamayam Jayemahi Bhagavashi Mahaprashatam Ki Barhapidam Natavarapu Karnayo Karnikaram Vibradvasa Kanakakapisham Vaijayantim Chamalam Randan Vinur Adarasudaya Burayan Gopavrinde Vrindaranyam Sapadaramanam Pravishad Gita Kirti Tava Katamritam Tapta Jivanam Bhuvi Giritam Kalmashapaham Shravanamangalam Srimadatam Bhuvi Gunantiye Buddhidajana Krishna Kirtana Gananatana Kala Pato Jani Brajita Sadbhakta Valiham Kamadupa Shri Viharaspadam Karnanandikaladvane Vahatume Jihamaru Prangane Anyadaya Nidita Valasa
Hare Krishna. Avantika will acknowledge the cooks for today's Sunday feast.
Hare Krishna, today's prasadam was cooked by Anila Mataji, Radhika Prema Mataji, Hari Sankirtan Prabhu, Venu Gita Mataji, Srini Prabhu, and Kalyani Mataji, and Vijay Damodar Prabhu.
Please come and take prasadam. Hare Krishna. So prasadam is being served outside, so in the parking lot area.